Welcome to another Super Deluxe Edition unboxing video. Today we're going to take a look at The Making of 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake, a new 4 CD box set that came out last week. Now this is also available as a 4 LP set, although I do think that version is now hard to get hold of because it's sold out in quite a few places. But the interesting thing is they're presented the same, so we'll have a look at this. This is a large format 4 CD set. Comes with this kind of obi strip here, compact disc edition, Making of 5 Leaves Left. So there's a bit of blurb there that tells you that includes unaccompanied demos, studio outtakes and previously unheard songs that tell the story of how Nick Drake's debut album came to be released on Island Records in 1969. So the album was released in 1969, July 1969. The Beatles were making Abbey Road, which came out a few months later. So Nick's debut album. And on this side you get a version of the cover. And on the other side you get the same thing but with this die cut element to it there. So the contents slide out, which we're going to have a look at obviously. But you can see this is sort of rigid board. It's actually a really nice sort of uncoated texture. It has a nice feel to it, a nice sort of warm organic kind of feel to it. That's what the spine looks like. The Making of 5 Leaves Left. UMI, Universal Music Recordings. So yeah, so far so good. It's quite a nice outer box. Now there's 4 CDs and a book. That's basically the content. And they've decided to do the CDs in this large format fashion. Now the reason they've done that is because it makes it cheaper in terms of producing the box set, because these outer sleeves can be used for both vinyl and CD in all cases, and same with the outer box. So instead of producing, you know, however many thousand small boxes for CD and then having to produce however many thousands big boxes for vinyl, they produce one big quantity for both. So economies of scale makes it cheaper. Not necessarily reflected in the price, it has to be said. This 4 CD set is about £100. So there has been some raised eyebrows on that front. I don't think anyone's doubting the amount of archival work and effort that's gone into the audio and the book, which we'll have a look at. But you know, the fact still remains, it's £100 for a 4 CD set, and one of the CDs is the album, which any buyer of this box set has already got. So that's £100 for a 3 CD set if you're going to be honest about it. But anyway, let's have a look at how they've done it. I mean, there's some clever sort of art design stuff going on here, design elements if you like. So the album kind of goes from light green to dark green. So there's the first record, or well, it's not a record, it's a CD. CD1, CD2, CD3, and then when we get to the actual record itself, it's the as it was released with that dark green. And also this is a gatefold sleeve. But if you're wondering how they've done the CDs in this big sleeve, there is the answer. It's basically a black bit of card with a CD slotted in like that. So it's kind of not bad. I do think this black bit of card, they could have printed something on the back or done something interesting, you know, maybe had some sort of sketches written and, you know, done something quite cool with that. It's kind of, it's a bit plain, the fact that there's nothing on this. It's kind of like a generic black bit of card. I think they could have bespoke this, especially for the price everyone's paying, to make it look really nice with the box. When we get to the actual record, it doesn't actually fit in that well, which is a bit of a shame, but we'll have a look at that. These ones, the first 3 are all fine. They slide in and out quite nicely. On the back here, it tells you about the content. So this one is first CD, volume 1, The Making of 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake. So initial studio sessions, March 68. So it's more than a year earlier than when the album came out. And then some more studio sessions that followed in September of the same year. So there's 12 tracks here on the first disc. and then slightly sort of darker shade of green, same thing, disc number 2. And so same kind of thing, this is Cambridge recordings, May 68, some more studio sessions, this time November 68. So the first one was March 68, and then September. Actually, the second studio sessions, they're on the first disc, they spread around from September, April, November, April, May. The reason it says Cambridge recording continued is because the very last track on this first CD is a Cambridge recording from May 68. I'm not sure why they didn't move that to the beginning of this CD, actually. That's a slightly kind of odd thing to do. But anyway, that's the second disc. I mean, one thing I would say, they clearly haven't got access to the original negative of this photo, because on all of the sleeves, it doesn't look particularly sharp, or it's got that kind of fuzzy, scanned-in vibe. Not much they can do, I guess, if they haven't got access to the original elements. But it's worth noting that the reproduction isn't as good as you might hope, I don't think. Third CD, slightly darker shade again. Not sure it's really worth showing you, but there's the disc. In fact, the colour of the discs match the shading of the things. That's quite a nice little touch. They're not all the same. So there, that's slightly darker. So on this one, more studio sessions, December 68 into January 69. So this is when the Beatles would have been recording Let It Be in the studios as per the documentary. Back to Cambridge, winter 68. And yeah, I don't know how much these add up to. Someone was making the point that you could actually have fitted these on less than 3 CDs, but I'm sure there's a reasoning behind the order that's been very well thought out, so I'm not going to criticise the order, but it is jumping around. And then finally, the album itself, sort of gatefold sleeve, kind of recreates the original. This is where this insert is a bit of a pain, I was trying to put it in and out, and it's kind of, it gets stuck, it kind of doesn't slide in and out very easily. Given this is just a square bit of card, I think they could have had a bit more margin for error. It doesn't have to fit a record in it or anything. So they could have trimmed a few extra mil off just to make sure. It's kind of very surprisingly annoying. We've gone to pink, Island Records pink for this CD. And yes, this is the album proper. I'll attempt to put this back in. It's sort of just about goes in. Yes, that's the album proper. So 4 CDs presented in these big sleeves. I think the quality of the audio and the research and the painstaking transfers and all the rest of it, and this book are the 2 highlights of the set. So this book's lovely. It's got sort of uncoated textured stock, perfect bound. How many pages is it? I don't know how many pages it is because they're not numbered, but it's reasonably thick. And yeah, so we've got some nice intro at the beginning that sort of outlines the origins of the project. And then Neil Storey, who we know at SDE from Hidden Masters, used to work at Islands, got an amazing connection to this kind of work. He goes through the painstaking process in terms of the tapes and the historical research. I think this goes back years and years. So vinyl 1, CD 1, vinyl 2, CD 2, etc. Everything's the same across the vinyl and the CDs, which is why the CDs aren't packed to the gills. They've made it consistent across vinyl and CD. So none of these CDs are going to be more than 45-50 minutes each. Yeah, so the pages and pages of history here about Nick Drake, beautifully designed. As I say, this is going to be one of the real highlights. And of course, even though I was saying, you know, they kind of did the large format thing to make it cheaper to produce. It does also mean that CD buyers get the pleasure of this big book, otherwise they wouldn't have. So there are some positives. It's not just for the benefit of the record label. I think fans have benefited as well from getting this really nice book. So yes, this goes on for ages. And then Neil Story, I think this is from, he's got a track by track sessionography, if you like. So it tells you the session dates, track times, who it was recorded by, notes, etc. So this is the kind of nerdy stuff that everyone's going to be really interested in. So that goes on for quite a few pages. And then there's a whole section where they show you the tapes, which all this stuff's always brilliant to look at. See all the scribbles and the doodles and the notes and everything. And then at the end there's the lyrics section. So we've got lyrics for songs on the album, the original handwritten sheets, presumably Nick wrote those, and then actually typeset lyrics next to them. So that's it. So all in all, very, very nicely done. I can see why this is so appealing, and there's been so much interest in this particular set. I've yet to have the time to dive into all the audio, but I'll look forward to doing that. So the content all slides back in there. I don't know, it's debatable which is the front and which is the back of this. The die cut bit here, you could say that that's the proper front cover with the obi strip over the open end, or you could actually turn it around and go, okay, now this is the front cover, pull it out on the right hand side, and then you could do it like that. So I hope this has given you a useful insight into the presentation and packaging of the making of 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake. As I say, this came out last week. Get them while you can, because these are limited editions. As I say, the vinyl is already tricky to get hold of, so you might have missed the boat on that one unless you want to overpay a little bit. But CD sets are still available. I think the average price is between 90 and 110, so call it £100 at the moment, unless you can find a retailer that's offering you any kind of a discount. So I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing video. If you have, why not subscribe to the Super Deluxe Edition YouTube channel for more great physical music unboxed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.